part of the community and contribute some knowledge part of the community, then I invited to give some informal talks. And we can usually have an interactive session and the discussion and the knowledge transfer happens in there. And 8 standard students are here, the seniors for the first time. In fact, this session was scheduled in the Vijayawada Amphitheatre today, but due to rains.
Due to rains, it was not possible. So, dear boys, this sessions are part of this focus assist programs, which are being hosted by the library media space, where they invite students, invite alumni, invite any other resource persons to kind of talk to you. So today, as you all seen on the notice board display, we have brought with us our alumnus, Pimpa. So he's in his final year of law, and I don't know him well. When he was studying, I was here. So it is a journey. So he's here to share something about law, the field of law, where no, I would not say most of you, but definitely there will be a select few of you who are interested. But most of you will be eager to know more about that field. You may not make it a part of your career, but definitely you would like to know more about it and see why people select law and why is it important in our society. I think that is the key point. So here Principal shared his journey of Vidyashala and how it motivated him to take up law. That's one thing. Second, what in the field of law entails, what law is there, what we need to study, what we need to do. So that basics will give that. And of course, I'll leave it to the audience to ask questions. You can raise your hands in the middle and you want to ask questions, you can definitely ask. I've already briefed him on that. So it will be an interactive session. You can interrupt him in the between by raising your hands. We'll open the platform to the audience and then we'll go back. And in the end, we can also have a Q&A session. So it's a very open session. And I invite Preetham to be here and we welcome him. Preetham, please. Thank you.
Good evening to all present here. So firstly, I would like to extend my gratitude to Swami Mahipalnanji and also Swami Yukeshananji for giving me this opportunity. So I have my holidays going on just before I step into my 5th year, and even my brother was free, so I thought, okay, during this free time, why not come to a 2-day retreat, a self-retreat, I would say, at and luckily I got this opportunity to also interact with all of you, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much, Maharaj. So, if we talk about today's session, as you all will be talking about, understanding law and also its different career opportunities. So, before I get into the very aspect of this particular seminar, I would like to talk about what made me choose law. It was not a choice that I made right from my primary school, I would say. It is a very late decision that I took right towards my end of my second PUC. So how this happened was, well, I was going for coaching like every one of you. I had taken PCMB and I had also planned on taking medical coaching because I was, after my 10th, I was not much aware about what all the courses are in PUC. I did not know that there was something called as commerce itself. Be it, arts and all was out of the question. I did not know there was any other course other than PCMB or PCMC, to be very honest. And why this seminar is because you should not make the same mistake that I did. You should make a decision, yes, but make a well-informed decision. And yes, it's good to have many of you here who are interested in law, who are also eager to know about what law is. So if you ask me what we'll be doing in this seminar, no, at the end of the seminar you will not be an expert in law or anything of that sort. You will not know that, as soon as you go out, you will not know what all law should I deal with respect to each and every problem that I encounter. No, that is not the agenda of this particular seminar. But it is only meant to give you an outlook as to what you might expect if you choose this path. If you choose law as your career, if you choose to study law in your graduation, what can you probably expect is what we'll be dealing with in this particular session. So, yes, right from my second standard, I would say, I was, actually I should give my credit to my parents and grandfather especially. They were very eager on me participating in many things, be it, skating, keyboard, literary activities, taking up, leadership roles, right from the smallest to being the, class representative in a first standard. This was a push from my family's side. Yes, and that eventually became a habit for me. So I was participating in Olympiads, and slowly did I incline towards logical reasoning too. So this became a source of my hobby, I would say, to get into solving logical reasoning puzzles and all of that throughout my high school, I would say. Later on, did I also come across various leadership roles. I went on to become the prefect in my primary school in Baldwin Boys High School back at Bangalore. And here also I went on to volunteer at the dispensary, went on to become the assistant secretary and also the secretary later on in my 10th standard. So these were various things that kept me going in my school life. But I did not give it much attention because of my lack of awareness about career opportunities on these lines, on management, on law. Yes, I was not aware about all that. But this changed when I went back to Bangalore for my PUC in 11th and 12th. I did my PUC in St. Joseph's Pre-University College. So, right from my first year, I would say towards the end of my first year and towards the beginning of my second year, there were a lot of career fairs, career utsavs, which we as a whole family, we went and started exploring as to what to do next, what to do for my graduation. Should I stick to medicine? Should I stick to BDS? Or should I choose any other option? We just went on various career utsavs to explore the various options in graduation. So this is when in my first and second utsavs I probably stuck to the science related science related degrees. But later on did I come across various other degrees such as BBA, MBA. There is this integrated course at IIMs which is called IPM, Integrated Program in Management, and this is an integrated BBA, MBA honors. So every one of you know IIM, right? Indian Institute of Management, and they are well known for MBAs. They are known for PGDM, PG Diploma in Management, so on and so forth. But this is the only course that they entertain undergraduates. Right from your second PUC, you can get into IIMs. How? By getting into IPM. So this was something new to me. And by the time I figured it, it was a bit late for me. I figured it only in the later part of my second PUC. So that's when I started introspecting as to what my interest actually is. Because as I spoke earlier, right from my primary school, I've been inclining towards elocution, I've been inclining towards leadership roles, and English was my favorite subject. And little did I know that I would develop my interest in drafting as I stand today. So that is when so that is when I had to think about what to do with respect to moving forward from second PUC. And that's when I decided that I will either step into management or law. Now, what shall I step into? Management or law was something that I had to decide on after looking into the various universities, and the best option is what I was willing to go to. I was comfortable with both management and law. So, after I came across this thought, I looked into the CLAT applications. I thought I'll apply, but then it was a bit too late. But luckily, Christ University had their applications open for that academic year with respect to law, and that was the last round. So luckily, I applied for Christ University, and believe it or not, I did not go to any CLAT coaching or did not even have any legal aptitude. I did not work towards any legal aptitude, which is one very important portion in the regular CLAT exams. And luckily, Christ University did not have a legal aptitude test, which worked in my favor. So that's when using the logical reasoning that I had been practicing right from my second standard, I managed to clear the entrance exam and I had qualified for the interview. And since I was also familiar with elocution and had taken part in various literary activities, I did not find it a hurdle in clearing the interview and the micro presentation round. And fortunately, I got into Christ University at School of Law, Christ University, where I'm currently doing my 5th year. That being said, my journey into my curiosity about law had only started because I was nowhere introduced to law. Even in my 12th standard, I was nowhere near law. I did not know the L of law. Yes? So that's when, after I stepped into law school, was when I started, looking into my curiosity about law started rising. So if you talk about what is law, can I have an answer from the audience? What do you think law is? It can be a very simplified 3-word answer too. What do you think law is? What is law? Anybody? Yeah.
Law is a constitution made by the certain government of a country which helps in the development of the citizens to be good citizens, also help the country in many things.
Brilliant. Can we give it up for, I didn't get it.
Yash.
Can we give it up for Yash, please? So he said law is the constitution. Okay, is there any other answer? Does anyone want to differ with Yash? Yes. Legally adopted? Okay. Okay. A more inclusive answer. Any other answer? I'll take one more answer. Yes.
The set of rules which help in governance.
Yes, that's a much better answer. Can we give it up for both of them, please? So, yes, law is a set of rules for governance, right? So, what do we do in LLB? Do we, from 1st year to 5th year, do we just read all the laws? Do we read the, longest constitution of the world, the Indian constitution from A to Z, and do we just graduate after reading everything? Do we do that from 1st year to 5th year? No. What do we do is, the faculty there ensure that we develop certain aptitude towards legal reasoning. Reading the law, anybody can do within 1 year. You don't need 5 years for that. You download all the PDFs, you buy all the books, you can finish it in 1 year. But how to go about applying those laws in our day-to-day lives, how to inculcate the legal aptitude within yourself, is something that law school teaches us over 5 years. Now, to give you an example about how lawyers think, I'll probably give you an example of a landmark case. It's a theoretical case. It's called the case of the Spelunkian explorers. So the story goes such that there are 5 people, of whom one is Roger Wetmore. We'll call him Roger. Okay, and there are 4 other people along with Roger. So these people are cave explorers. Yeah, the Spelunkian explorers. And they are on their venture. They get into a cave and they are on their regular job. They get into a cave and they are exploring various things in the cave. Suddenly, there is a landslide. And the entry and exit from the cave and to the cave is shut. Now 10 days pass and they are still there. They had carried very less amount of food and water with them, and it has been 10 days. So logically, they do not have any more food and water with them. So before I move forward with the story, if you were in that position, what thoughts would have come to you? What would you have done? How would you have done, how would you have survived that situation? Does anyone want to step in?
So maybe PUC students want to take this course. Yes, Manish.
So you are stuck in a cave. You have no food and water. It's been 10 days. No light, nothing.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, if they have went for a cave excavation, they might have tools. So they tried a way to dig it up. I tried a way to dig it out of myself.
Right. But what do you do for your nutrition? What do you do for food? How would you try to
We
survive
have
that?
started. Day one, maybe we were able to get up.
Okay. Okay. Right. Thank you. Is there any other answer?
Anybody from behind, please? Anmol, Soham.
Yes.
Probably, I think the best option. The logical explanation for this would be that if there are 5 people and the rations are low, the 5 people should elect a person who should survive and 4 should somehow die. So that this might seem very harsh or this thing, but this is the only logical conclusion that might at least lead to the survival of one man.
Alright, so you mean 4 should die?
4 should die in order for one man to survive. So I think that is the logical.
Interesting thought. Thank you so much. Any other answers? Okay, that was a very interesting response that I received. But let's get back to the story. Yeah, let's see what happened there. So Roger and his team is trying to establish contact with the outside world now. Yes, because they do not have any sort of communication with anybody. They haven't had any sort of communication for the past 10 days. Yes, but suddenly, do they remember a communication device that they brought along with them? And they try to establish contact. It's a portable device, a wireless device, and something like a walkie-talkie in simple terms. And they try to establish contact with the rescuers. Yes, so they successfully established contact, and they asked them as to how long is it going to take for us to get out of this cave. The doctors and the other rescuers there tell it will be about 10 days or more. Minimum would be of 10 days. And they say we do not have any food or water with us. Can we survive these 10 days? The doctors hesitantly say it is going to be difficult, but it is not impossible, but it is going to be really, really difficult. Then there's silence for about an hour or two. So Roger gets into thinking as to what shall I do next. He has a dice with him, yes, 1 to 6. And he thinks, okay, we are 5 of us. What if I give everyone a number each, 1 to 5, and 6, I'll leave it for a read-through. And one person who is selected will have to sacrifice his body and we will feed over him for survival. So he gets this thought and he immediately shares it with his teammates. At first there is some resistance, there is hesitation towards this idea, but they all agree towards this idea because it is the best option that they could see. They had no light, they had no food, they had no water, nothing, and this was the only option that they could have, leave the best option. Yes. So while going to throw the dice, Roger himself had some hesitation and he said that I'm going to withdraw myself from this deal. The others stated that no, this is going to be a breach of faith. You have agreed to something and you will follow whatever we agreed to follow. And he goes on to throw the dice. Roger's number was 3 and the dice showed 3, which meant that he will have to sacrifice his body. So 30 days passed, 32 days if I'm not wrong, yes. And then the rescuers successfully went to, they cleared the cave and they got all the explorers outside the cave. But they got only 4 of them. and to their shock, the four of them had fed on Roger to survive the remaining days after the communication. So after this, they were taken to the hospital, yes. Then after that, the next place they were taken to was the court of law. The question there was whether this act was an act of murder. Are there any opinions on this? Are there any answers to this? Is this murder or is this not? I'll take your answer in the end. It seems like you know the case, that's why. Is there any other person? Yes. Yeah.
It cannot be a murder because he was the one who introduced the idea for the dice throwing, so it cannot be a murder.
Okay. Okay, it cannot be a murder is fine, but the reason is he was the one who proposed it, so it cannot be murder. Okay. All right. Thank you. Is there any other answer? Yes.
It is obviously a murder because they cannot prove that he told. Like the court of law just wants proof. They won't believe the words, so it's a murder.
Okay. One thing I would like to add here that I forgot to add, that in this country, the law was such that whoever willfully takes the life of another will be punishable by death. This was one line that they had to look into while deciding the case. Yes, now are there any opinions? Sure, yes.
Because the act was consensual, he was accepting that he was ready to die.
Okay.
So it was the act of consent.
But what do you think about the law here? It says whoever willfully takes. So here, is he willfully taking the life of another?
No, but he was accepting that he was ready to sacrifice.
Correct, but it's willful taking of a life?
Yes.
So does it amount to receiving punishment as death penalty?
No.
Alright, okay. One last answer, yes.
Yes, I would say that yes, it is a murder because his life was willfully taken by another person.
Okay.
But for right now, I would call it justified because rather than loss of one life, I would say, sorry, rather than loss of 5 lives, I would say, loss of one life is better.
Okay.
So I would say it is justified that 4 people survive rather than none.
Okay, it can be murder, but there is an exception, is what you mean.
Yes.
Right. Thank you so much. I mean, that was a very nice response that I received. So I'll talk about what the jury, the judges in this case, opined. So first it went to a lower court and then it was appealed to the Supreme Court. The lower court found them guilty and later on was it appealed to the Supreme Court. Now it's the final verdict that we'll be looking into. So there are 5 judges. It's a constitutional bench. Okay, 5 judges, and they are looking into the matter. So the first judge, he took a positivist approach. Yes, positivist is by going by the words of the law. Yes. So what the judge opined was, he went on to his reasoning, Angad, I believe, right? So Angad's reasoning was that yes, it is murder, but there is an exception. But the opinion of this judge was not that they should be set free. His opinion was that they should not be given death penalty, but they can be given any other form of punishment, such as life imprisonment or rigorous imprisonment for life. Any other alternative form of punishment instead of death penalty. He tried to relax it a bit, but found them guilty of the act. Now the next judge took a more naturalistic approach. The judge was like, so law is framed for a situation where humans interact with each other. In an idealistic situation where humans are going on about their day-to-day activities, in those situations is what law plays a role. Clearly in this situation, this is not a day-to-day activity. They are stuck somewhere. And they cannot be expected to act in their saneness because they haven't had food, water, they haven't seen daylight for about a month or so. And you cannot expect one person to be sane under those circumstances. Yes, it was an extraordinary circumstance. Hence, this law cannot apply here, is what this judge opined and found them to be innocent. Now, there were two other judges who went on to balance this weight, saying one found them guilty and the other found them innocent. Now, the decision maker was the final judge, yes, as to whether they are guilty or not. And this judge stated that this is not a regular instance where I can probably give a yes or no answer saying whether they are guilty or not. There are so many, this situation is very complex and I would recuse myself from giving any opinion. That means that I would not give my opinion as to whether they are guilty or not. I would step away from deciding this case. So the weight is still balanced. It is 2 for guilty and 2 for innocent. And the procedure as per that country was that if such a situation arises, the lower court's holding will be, yes, they will stick to the lower court's holding itself. So they were, hanged to death. So this exercise was just to show you as to how different one's opinion could be, and especially when the circumstances, the law do not go hand in hand. Yes, so this is how a lawyer is expected to think. This is how law schools train you in different perspectives. It can be in corporate law, it can be in constitutional law, it can be in different areas of law, and this is how they inculcate legal aptitude in you over these 5 years.
I have a question for Pritham. One is, Pritham is taken the field of law. What do you think that is the current state of legal affairs in the country, and what difference can you make towards it?
What difference can I make towards it? Right.
How do you perceive the current state of legal affairs?
So that is a very, that is a question that many of us will have to probably introspect towards, because if we are talking about the system, law is more inclined towards not. So there are 3 organs, right, of democracy. There is legislature, there is executive, and there is yes. So a lawyer's job is not inclined only towards judiciary, but a lawyer will also have to keep themselves updated as to what the legislature is going on about passing new laws too. So if you're talking about the state of legal affairs today, I would say from the time that India has had its experience and much before that itself, we have had a very ambiguous set of laws. So law cannot be perfect. It is bound to it is to be amended from days to come, and it is made to fit for that society with respect to its time frame.
Anybody else? You have one instance over here.
So you said the situation was balanced, like you couldn't give them a death penalty or set them free. Then isn't hanging them to death a death penalty?
Okay, so I think it was, I do not know if it was conveyed in the wrong way or not received right, but the Supreme Court's decision, when it's balanced, right, when they cannot conclude as to whether this person is guilty or not, that time they go on to hold the previous decision as their decision. When the Supreme Court is unable to decide a case, the previous decision, what was the lower court's decision? That they are guilty. So here, since the Supreme Court is not able to decide, the lower court's judgment was held to be valid. And hence, since the lower court had given them, sentenced them as guilty and sentenced them to death penalty, they were hanged to death. Yes, sir.
Sorry to interrupt.
I thought I should ask you this. Satyameva Jayate is our India's such a high ideal and a motto. Is it discussed during the law studies? What do the law experts feel? What do you feel? One. And the other one was in India, suppose you said in other countries, this Rogers case if you take, in the Supreme Court it was balanced. Two saying guilty, two saying innocent. So others said I will not be said. So the lower court decision was upheld. Suppose it happens in India. What is the situation? What does the Supreme Court do? Does it also say the lower court decision or the Supreme Court has some other thing? These two questions.
Right, Sanjay. Thank you so much. So, with respect to Satyameva Jayate, well, I would say it is not per se discussed in its true format as we look into with respect to the context that we are speaking about. But yes, the teachers, out of their own interest, they at times go on to, when they have extra hours, when they have substitution hours, they they talk about their interest, and they also encourage debates in law schools. This is where we go beyond the syllabus and discuss about all these topics. So that is one. And with respect to the second question was, what if it happens in India? Somji, in critical cases as these, there are usually odd number of judges that are placed on the bench. So if there is one judge is a single bench, two judges is a division bench, three judge is a three-judge full bench, and four judges onwards is a constitutional bench. Okay, and if there is a constitutional bench, that means that this is some case to look into. This is a very important case. It might deal with the fundamental rights of a particular person or of the society in general. It can be a public interest litigation or so. And in critical situations such as these, it is ensured that there are odd number of judges, and they will have to decide on whether they are inclining towards the opinion or not.
One judge cannot say I will not give my opinion. It is balanced. Some judgment he has to give, either he falls here or falls there.
Yes, Swamiji. So I mean that has not happened in India, fortunately or unfortunately. That is when we will have to look into the procedure of that particular case. So.
Anybody behind plus a prospective lawyer. So
I see.
So any questions from you? Yes, you have any new students I would ask.
Right now in the country, many debates are going on about the sedition law. So could you expound more on sedition law?
On sedition law?
Yeah.
I can talk about sedition, but yes, I think a one-to-one would be better because it might be too much even for a first-year law student. So we can have a discussion probably outside this.
Yes, there are some questions in the mezzanine for students. Can pass the mic then.
Sir, in the Rogers case itself, was he actually murdered by the other four, or did he take his own life?
That's a nice question, but the four of them took his life, took Roger's life.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
In the Rogers case, instead of thinking only in the constitutional way, can't we think in the humanitarian way?
So the judges, as I stated, they gave two different perspectives. One read by the law, and one went beyond the law.
No, I'm asking, is it possible?
Yes, it is possible. See, what judges try to look into is the intention of the legislature. Many a times, if you are probably taking law, we have the subject called interpretation of statutes. Statute is nothing but the letters of the law, right? And we are taught in one semester as to how to interpret them in detail using various tools of interpretation. So one such aspect that we'll be dealing with in this subject is how to look into the intention of the legislature rather than just looking at the words of the law. Because if the law states that if it provides to be against a particular group of people, or if it provides to be anti-beneficial to than its object, at that point in time, the judge can look into the intention of the legislature.
There's one question, the blue jacket.
So, like in the Robert's case, what if Robert took his own life?
So you tell me, what would that be? Would that be murder? Look into the law that I spoke about. Whoever takes the life of another willfully shall be subject to death penalty. So who took? Did anyone else take Roger's life for them to get death penalty?
No.
So would it amount to murder?
No, sir.
Then what would it amount to?
So the 4 people will be innocent.
No. What would this act amount to? Suicide. Yes?
There is no PUC student here. Is there any questions other than this Robert's case? I think Robert's case is a little more intensive. Other than Robert's case, we can open for questions, please.
Sir, had you been in the place of the fifth judge, what would you have done?
What would I have done? Right. So over here, I would have inclined towards a nationalistic perspective rather than going by the letters of the law, because they were not in their sane mind. They could not make clear decisions, and we do not know if they made the decision in their right sense of mind, or were there any other external factors that were contributing to it. So this being an exceptional situation, and this since they had done it for their survival, I would have probably not found them guilty and would have taken a nationalistic point of view.
I think probably you can remind it of psychiatric thing for a couple of years of community service, so for them to probably be a part of the regular society.
Yes, that is possible, Sunji, but over there with respect to community service, that is looked at as an alternative source of punishment. So if we are talking about making them bound to certain actions, that is only if we find them guilty of that action that we are accusing them of. So since we are not looking at charging them or convicting them of that particular action, they will not be subject to community service. But psychiatry, counseling is a option that we.
There are a couple of questions which probably many students. One is there are various skills required to get in any. So in the legal profession, what do you think are the most essential skills required?
Right. So this is a very basic and a very important question that we'll have to look into when it comes to opting for law. And to keep it simple, 1 is clarity over content, 2 is command over language, and 3 is your confidence in presenting. So there are 3 C's. 1 is content, 2 is clarity, and 3 is confidence. So these are 3 important C's that you'll have to take if you're looking into stepping inside law. So
any questions on this? Yeah.
What are your plans after your LLB?
So right now I'm, I just finished my paralegalship, which is an assessment internship, an internship in simple terms, at a law firm called Cyril Amachan Mangaldas. And Cyril Amachan Mangaldas is a tier 1 law firm, and I work with them under the real estate team. So this is not with respect to real estate disputes. It's not the cases that we see, but this is commercial real estate. It inclines more towards due diligence. For example, if there is a builder who is having a 50-acre project, yes. Now there might be there might be so many people who are holding different parts of this, property, and all of which has been come together by this particular builder, and which will lead to the project. But he wants to know if this title, this land is in clean hands. So right from 1920s, 1940s, we look into all the documents. We look into the survey documents. That is whether the boundaries are right, whether the transfer of title has been clean, whether there are any property dues or anything that will have to be done before executing this project, and we will give them a report. So this is what I had been doing throughout my paralegalship. And I probably, if everything goes well, I probably aim at getting into this firm under the real estate team itself. Otherwise, I probably would join another firm, either in the litigation department or the real estate department. Yes, I hear. So many of you are raising.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Sir, I have heard that being a Supreme Court judge is very difficult, sir, because they are very isolated, sir. Sir, is it true?
Okay. Are they isolated? Well, they have their own restrictions that they impose upon themselves after a certain point. It's not isolation. It is just that, they get busy with their work, because being a judge, forget Supreme Court judge, being a judge in itself is a very busy job. Yes, you will have to look into paperwork of not one, but probably 50 different cases on an average. I'm talking about in one single day. So there are recently there was a High Court judge in Karnataka who heard about 400 cases, if I'm not wrong, in one single day. He disposed a few hundred cases and heard a total of about 400 cases, if I'm not wrong, in one single day. So his job requires more than 24 hours in a day. Yes, so they are not isolated. No one tells that you cannot come to a particular place, but they restrict themselves to a particular place because their work demands them.
I think we close with one question, and I'll ask the last question. Parikshit.
So you told about the internship that you did. So was that a campus placement or was it just a project that you had to do?
No, I got it through college. So our recruitment coordination committee is very active, luckily, from the previous year. And they bring in a lot of firms, tier 1 and tier 2, tier 3 litigation firms. And I was one of the lucky 12 to get into this firm for this paralegalship.
I'm sorry again.
No problem.
This lawyer, advocate, barrister.
Right.
What is it? Is there any difference? Are they same? Sometimes you're a lawyer, advocate, and barrister.
Right. So this is a question that even I probably could not answer in my first year of law school. But to understand the basic difference of who a lawyer and advocate is first, a lawyer, as per definition, a lawyer is anybody who has studied or is studying law. Who has studied or is studying law. So who are all they? A judge is a lawyer. An advocate is a lawyer. A law student is a lawyer. A corporate, a legal consultant, a legal advisor, they are lawyers too. But is a law student an advocate? Is a judge an advocate? No. Because they will have to, after passing law, they will have to enroll themselves under the Bar Council. It can be the State Bar Council or the Bar Council of India. After which they'll be called as an advocate, and only after being an advocate can you represent cases at court. So barrister is not there in India, Samji. They are advocates, but in the UK and other countries. So this is the basic difference between lawyer, advocate, and barrister. But there's one point, I'm sorry, Sanjay. But as per the definition in the Bar Council of India rules, a law student cannot be called a lawyer because lawyers are only those that have studied law. That is, you have to have a degree in law. So.
We close by two more questions. One is all of you know the power of networking, right? Because you need contacts to get cases. So I would like to ask Ethan, how does he intend to network in this particular?
Networking is something that is one of my favorite things to do. To be very, very honest. Because even if you look at Instagram or Facebook, I primarily look at it as an instrument where I can reach out to people. Right? For me, networking has been a very important thing to look into right from my PUC itself. Because my father, he's a businessman. He is a financial advisor. And I do not know if it's by looking at his activities or his circles that I understood the importance of each and every person's phone number when we go to meet them. Yes, it can be any student that we probably do not talk to, we haven't spoken to in 4 years. But if we get a chance to get their contact, I would ensure to get their phone number or some contact of theirs. If you look at my the number of mobile numbers that I have in my phone, here itself there are about 983 contact numbers. So one added today, my basketball sir. I did not have his number. So I give a lot of importance to networking, and be it LinkedIn, be it emails or any other sort of communication that I can probably get, I ensure to grab that opportunity immediately because it helps in some way or the other. Now I am part of Rotary Club of Koramangala. It's a community service club. And long back, about 3 years back, I had enrolled myself in a blood donors list. I had just registered. I was probably watching TV or something, and there was this link. Instead of closing it, I just put my name there. Now a few months later, my great grandmother, she was admitted in the hospital and she required blood. No one in our family had the same blood group. But the Rotaract group, right? I sent a message saying urgent requirement of blood for my great grandmother, regards Rotaractor Preetham GH, and my contact number. And that got circulated to not only all the Rotaract clubs, but various other community service club, Lions Club, and various other organizations who deal with blood donations, etc. And luckily, I received a call from a member of the Lions Club, and he went and donated blood to my great grandmother. So this is one example as to how important networking is, and yes, I think I took a lot of time on that question.
We will go for one last question. One last question. I will have Nishal.
Take this, Nishal. You need to work.
So basically, like as we believe or we perceive the goddess of justice is blindfolded. So do you really think that we are following that in our country and in this judicial system? And then second thing is like in a criminal case, there is a criminal and one who got cheated. Just right,
okay.
So one lawyer talks like for the guy who got cheated. He's on par of justice, and the other guy is not he's supporting the cheater. So where is the morality in the lawyers?
Okay. Can I answer the second question first, if you don't mind? Yes. So okay. So I would like to get back to the question as to what are the three organs of democracy? Legislature, judiciary, right? So what is the role of judiciary? To decide cases, to decide matters that come in front of it, right? And who are the members of the judiciary? Judges, right? Are advocates judges? No. What is the job description of an advocate? To represent their client's case to the fullest possible, right? So I'll give you an example of a very renowned lawyer, Malani. Yes. So there was this case, if I can extend something. Thank you. So there was this case of a godman. I forget his name. So there was this godman who was accused of certain criminal, actions, and not one advocate dared to represent the godman. Okay, so this is when at his very early stages of practice, Malani boldly went and represented his case. So later on in his interview, when asked about how he could probably represent an accused, he goes on to state that I choose as to whom I can defend only with respect to, only if my conscience allows it. Yes, only if my conscience allows do I go on to defend a particular person. Secondly, this is the very important line that I would like to highlight. He states that if a lawyer refuses to represent a case merely because other people think he might be guilty, then he is guilty of professional misconduct. So it is the role of a lawyer, a role of an advocate to put the law, to put the case before the judge and leave the answer to be decided by the judge. If they want justice, they should ensure that the case is not biased towards one party, but it is balanced in two sides of the scale and placed before the judge to decide that case. So that is what a defense lawyer or a prosecution lawyer should be doing in one particular case. Right. So with respect to the question was whether I think it is
blindfolded that.
Right. So the question is as to whether in today's world the lady justice is doing her job blindfolded. So this is a question that has no fixed answer. It varies as per perspectives. But with respect to my perspective, yes, it is doing its job, but not fully. I would like to stick it. We can get on a one-to-one later on, but due to time constraint, I would like to stick to that.
So we thank Preetham for his time with all of us here, and I'm sure that lots of our doubts have been cleared, and also a lot of people would have been definitely motivated to probably pursue their career in law. To conclude it, I'd also like to point out Ramakrishna Mission is celebrating its 125th year. We've got 1,500 monks all across the globe. In that, there are many monks who are qualified lawyers. In fact, one of my batchmate also is a lawyer. So there are monks who are practicing and they do represent to the thing and they probably find cases and for the institution. So it's a very dynamic set of PhD monks are also there. So I want to place this also before you and we'll conclude the session.